You are listening to the audiobook of Sridevi, the eternal screen goddess, by Satyarth Nayak, read by Shaayan Bhattacharya, presented by Penguin Random House. It's sort of fitting that I'm today writing a foreword for a book on Sridevi, given that I grew up idolizing her. Sometimes it is hard to believe that she is gone. I met Sridevi for the first time around 1989 during the shooting of Patthar Ke Insan, which came out in 1990. I was around 13 then. My father, Shoma Mukherjee, was the producer and director of the film, which starred Sridevi, Vinod Khanna, Jackie Shroff and Poonam Dhillon. I vividly recall that at the very first meeting, she told my dad, "You must put your daughter in the movies." And I was like, no way I'm going to be in the movies. It is sheer coincidence that the same evening Yash Chopra came to meet my dad at the studio, and he got him to hear a recording of Sridevi singing the song Chandni O Meri Chandni. My first reaction was slightly childish. I wasn't really impressed by the song, and I even remember saying this to my father. However, when the movie came out, it was a completely different story. In fact, Chandni released about 5 months before my father's film, and I remember I was crazy about this film. I bought the videotape and played it so many times that the recording almost wore out. In December that same year, Chalbaz released. Chandni and Chalbaz, released in 1989, were my two ultimate favorites. Sadma, which released in 1983, is also an eternal favorite. All of this happened before I made my debut with Bekhudi in 1992. So, you can say that she was the only film star I was actually crazy about before I joined the movies. When I was around 18, I was shooting for one of my films in Film City, Mumbai, and I heard that Sridevi was also shooting in the same studio. I quickly called my dad and asked him to drive me to the studio. I wanted him to take me across to meet her, so that I could tell her in person how crazy I was about her, and also tell her how awesome she is. It was my first star-struck meeting. Selfies were still quite distant in the future. Otherwise, I would have clicked one with her back then. It is odd, but my selfie with her came just a few months before she passed away. Both of us were at designer Manish Malhotra's home in Bandra, and that's where that photo op happened. Besides that memorable selfie moment, I remember that in the course of the years, I met her quite a few times, and every time I noticed there was such a disparity. She was so different in person and on screen. In her real life, she was soft-spoken, unassuming and gentle. She possessed a canny intelligence, but it was always hidden under the politest of manners. Her face exuded warmth. Coming to what she meant to me as an actor, I must say that I truly and deeply respected Sridevi. As I mentioned earlier, as a person, she had that native intelligence as far as the film industry was concerned. I do not think you can ever teach that to anyone. And as an actor, she was even more shrewd. She knew which script would work and which would not. She had the pulse of the audience at all time. She knew the camera so well, how it would shoot her, which was her best angle. She actually did her own makeup and transformed herself every single time on screen, which I find amazing. All of us need a makeup artist to make us look our best. But not Sridevi. She paid attention to the minutest of details. If you watch her movies in any random order, you will feel like you are studying a textbook. At least, that's how I always feel. From the way she used her dupatta to the way she tied her saris, everything was so perfect. Her eyes spoke volumes. She also considered everything, right down to the last detail, like when to run barefoot and when to run with her shoes on. Likewise, there are films in which she has her nail varnish on, others where she is without any. Her jewellery, her accessories, she had it all down pat. It was all so thorough, so well planned. The beauty was she never let Sridevi the persona take over her character. In my view, she is the first woman superstar of this country. I don't think any other leading lady would have given Amitabh Bachchan a takkar in Khudagawa, 1992. Besides her, I don't think anyone else could have matched him. She was formidable in her movies. In my head, she continues to remain a formidable force. Even at the risk of sounding like a fangirl, I must add that the memory of Sridevi will always dominate Indian cinema. Finally, Sridevi was and will always remain special to me. It was January 1989. The movie team was an ecstatic bunch. Sridevi and Amir Khan were in the house prepping for the cover shoot. This New Year issue of the magazine was going to be a singular casting coup, with the coming together of India's biggest female megastar and the nation's new heartthrob. Movie editor Dinesh Raheja was chasing a dynamic on the cover that would spellbind the readers, and ace lensman Rakesh Shrestha was designing the perfect composition. As the lights blazed, Sridevi and Amir took position, both resplendent in white, the Khan looking visibly starstruck, the Devi smiling softly. The team looked at the frame with intrigue. Suddenly, Rakesh lowered his camera, a frown creasing his forehead. He turned to glance at Dinesh, who noticed it too. Everyone in the team stared at a technical snag that no one had foreseen. Sridevi was towering above Amir in the frame. The actress was not only taller than him, but was also standing in her stilettos. The room turned silent. Everyone wondered how to share the predicament with Sridevi. What if they ended up irking the queen bee? What if she stormed out, ditching this highly anticipated cover? What if she never shot with the movie again? The team stood in a daze. As Dinesh began carefully formulating the words in his mind, he suddenly caught a glint in Sridevi's eyes. The expression on her face conveyed that she had grasped what was going on. Without uttering a word, she took off her heels, flung them to the side, and posed again. Everyone took a few seconds to register what had transpired. The frame confirmed to their vision now. Amir appeared taller. As Rakesh clicked away, the team breathed a sigh of relief, and Dinesh watched the cover he had envisioned taking birth before his eyes. But when the magazine hit the stands, a strange alchemy had happened. All eyes were on the diva. Sridevi had somehow stolen the thunder from her taller co-star. Act 1, Little Star. Tu meri choti se gudiya ban jayegi, jadoo ki pudiya. My little doll, you will soon become a bundle of magic. From the movie Lamhe. Her parents gaped as the audience cheered. Oblivious to all this, the girl danced with abandon, casting a shadow on the blank cinema screen. Sharing this childhood memory with me in our only meeting in 2012 at the Delhi premiere of English Vinglish, Sridevi had reminisced, I danced and danced until someone pulled me back. And yet, in a 1985 interview with Cine Blitz, she also described her younger self in these words. I was a very shy and lonely child. I hated crowds. The minute I saw more than 3 or 4 people in the room, I would run and hide behind my mother's pallu. Reconciling these two childhood versions of Sridevi, so seemingly antithetical to each other, is futile. But perhaps it was this fascinating dichotomy that spun the mystique around her. People close to the actress vouch that she was not one or the other. She was both. Both the personas merging into one. The girl withdrawing behind her mother's pallu could also streak through the silver screen like a bolt of lightning. Sridevi was unquestionably to the movies born. The episode at the theatre ticked all the boxes for a star in the making. Someone who is naturally drawn to the spotlight and who can easily insulate oneself from the reality around, instead finding sanctuary in a world of her own. A being so truly dazzling that all those who watched were sucked into the fantasy she created on screen. Sridevi was born on 13th of August 1963 in Madras at Egmore's Mehta Nursing Home. Her parents, Rajeshwari and Ayappan, Suryakala and her younger sister Srilata completed her close family. Director Pankaj Parashar reveals how the actress got her name. She once told me that when she was born, there was a bright red mark on her forehead, like a tika. Everyone started saying that a Devi had taken birth, and they named her Ayappan Sridevi. Sridevi's mother hailed from Andhra and her father from Tamil Nadu, which ensured that she was bilingual and which, in future, would play a vital role in her pan-India stardom. Her birth date meant...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?